Hello and welcome to the February 26th edition of the Gold, Goats, and Guns Short News. My name is Tom Luongo. We've got a lot to talk about, and today I want to talk about Brexit. But before we get started, a little housekeeping. Remember, a reminder, everybody, we do live streams on Monday nights at 8 and Friday nights at 8:30. You can follow my work over at tomluongo.me, as well as at strategicculture.org, and now at moneyandmarkets.com. So let's get down to Brexit. Let's talk about this, because there was a lot of movement finally in Brexit in the last 24 hours or so. Now, I apologize for not getting more videos out recently, but I've been sick as a dog. And I'm still sick as a dog. So we're going to try and get through this one without coughing. Let's hope that actually happens. And if I do not, then I'll just edit them out and move on with life. All right. So spent an hour this morning over breakfast watching British Parliament and watching yet another morning of insufferable virtue signaling by all the Remainers in the House of Commons. It's very obvious that we're at a point where the pressure is on them. The massive pressure is on everybody to scuttle Brexit, which has been the point of all of this negotiating and all of this wrangling and all of this posturing for the last 2.5 years. And the big headlines of that, now Theresa May is willing to accept an extension to Article 50, and that Jeremy Corbyn officially came out this morning, leader of the Labour Party, in favor of a second referendum, because obviously no one can come up with a reason as to what kind of Brexit we want. The British people are happy with a no-deal Brexit. It's the establishment that doesn't want it. It's most of May's cabinet doesn't want it, as Nigel Farage rightly points out, and I've been a point that I had missed for in previous iterations of this, that if May was committed to going to March 29th with the possibility of there being no deal, she'd have sacked Amber Rudd and Philip Hammond and the rest of her cabinet. He's partially right there. You got to remember that she's in a very similar position that Donald Trump is in here in the United States, and that she's already had a lot of staff turnover over Brexit. Any more would tip her hand as to what she actually wants to do. She gets rid of Hammond and Rudd and the rest of them. She's telling everybody no deal Brexit is what I'm preparing for and my preferred outcome. So she's not doing that. I think actually Theresa May is playing this very skillfully and from a political perspective. She's keeping her cards very close to her vest. She's making it abundantly clear that everybody who's in the House of Commons virtue signaling about how horrible a no deal would be and all of this stuff. She's reminding them over and over and over again that you have three options: no deal, some deal, or no Brexit. And no one wants to actually say what they want to happen, because everybody just wants to blame everybody else. That's the game that's being played right now, right? The Tory and the Labour Remainers are both saying, and the independent group are all trying to say, a no-deal Brexit would be terrible, and that's all Theresa May wants to do. Well, she doesn't actually want to do that. She's made it abundantly clear that she wants to leave with a deal. I don't happen to agree with that position. I think the WTO terms gives the UK the most leverage in any post-Brexit day negotiations with the EU. Remember that there's all sorts of negotiations that have to happen after March 29th, if it even goes off on March 29th. There's so much that still needs to be done. But this first moment is nothing. Remember also that City of London has already made a deal with all the clearinghouses in City of London, have made a deal with the EU to continue trading as per normal, to continue access to markets as per normal. So that's done, right? All the customs officials on both sides of the English Channel have already said nothing's going to change. No one is preparing for a catastrophic event where there won't be food or medicine. That's all nonsense. That is all fear and propaganda. It has nothing to do with reality. Okay? The uncertainty that everybody's talking about comes from not knowing what's going to happen on March 29th. And Theresa May was blunt, like right towards the end, where she said, look, the uncertainty is yours. You're the one creating it. I've given you a path. If you don't like that path, go for a no deal, and then we'll move from there. But at least we'll have some certainty. That's the underlying fear and underlying statement that nobody in the House of Commons who's against Brexit wants to admit. What they want is some form of unworkable deal, unreachable deal that will somehow magically appear out of nowhere to hide the fact that they don't actually want to leave the European Union in the first place. And what that's doing now, and what May is doing by standing her ground the way she has, by refusing to sack Amber Rudd and Philip Hammond and the rest of them, and by allowing all of the traitors from within both parties to form this independent group, is that it's showing the people of the UK just who is and who is not committed to doing the people's work. Because she is in the right position. She wants to deliver that which the people voted for. And the fun part is watching all of these people in Parliament try and twist those words around to say, well, you're hiding behind the referendums and this and that. No, she's hiding behind the fact that 80% of the people of the UK in 2017 voted to support the referendum at a snap election. Labour and the Tories. So now, what does this actually do? What it does is it sets up, even if there's an extension, which is no guarantee of a deal. See, so what everybody wants her to do is to betray Brexit by taking a no deal off the table. Because that would make things, that would allay our fears that you're trying to push a no deal through. But May is not stupid. She's not going to get anything out of Brussels if she takes a no-deal Brexit off the table, which is exactly what the people who are telling her to take a no-deal off the table want. They don't want Brussels to cave. They don't want the UK to leave the European Union. They want to be able to go back to their constituency and say, look, no deal would have been horrible, and then go sell this. No deal would have been horrible. I have your best interest at heart, and please reelect me and, and hope for the best. Which is nonsense. What they really understand is at this point, they've so thoroughly committed themselves to a path that ensures they're being voted out of office in the next general election that they don't know what to do with themselves. And you can see it on their faces. You could see it from so many people. You can also see a fair number of just absolute, like, dumb as a post ideologues. Most of them, sadly enough, women, approaching this from a purely emotional perspective, not understanding the hard negotiating stance here, not understanding what needs to be done. Simply looking at this in purely emotional terms and purely in short-term terms. And it's really quite sad. It really is. And you could see it. Watch British Parliament every time one of these things comes up. All the really hardcore Remainers are all women. Except for the Scots, because they're just hopeless at this point. What's really important at this stage is not whether or not May is willing to agree to an extension or not. All she's doing is telling everybody she's listening to her cabinet, who is wrong and who are true betrayers of Brexit and of the Tories and of the people. So now that's all she's done. Is all she's admitted is that my cabinet told me I have to accept an extension. I don't want to accept an extension. I want to leave the European Union on the 29th of March with a deal. That's what she keeps saying over and over and over again. And I believe her. Watch her body language. It's really quite obvious that's what she wants. She's not faking it. She's not putting on airs. There's many things about Theresa May I don't like. And I don't like that outcome that she's in favor of. But my opinion on this is irrelevant. But it's pretty obvious that that's what she wants, and she's honest in that. What she also understands is that if there's an extension in any way, and if the uncertainty continues because no one no group within the House of Commons can actually come up with a version of a deal that everybody would be happy with, and that she can't take that back to Brussels because no one wants to be on record as saying they're for or against some version of Theresa May's deal. And they're doing it for political purposes. They're all putting party before country and party before their constituencies. Except for the couple that are really in the ideological weeds. And I saw a couple of them today, and they're hopeless, and they're going to vote against everything. They refuse to accept reality. As she pointed out, you just refuse to accept. There's many in this body that refuse to accept the concept and refuse to accept the reality that Brexit is happening. No matter how much you try and bury your head in the sand, this is going to happen. And I can't believe the childishness that I've seen from so many members of British Parliament this morning. Again, most of them women. I mean, literally, it was sad. And this is absolutely insane to see how childish people are acting. And there's a bunch of men that were just as childish, and certainly Alex Salmond, or the head of the Scottish National Party, whoever he is, was absolutely childish in how he framed everything this morning. It was just insane. I'm like, really, dude? Could you? I mean, he just looked like a short, fat version of Nancy Pelosi. It was really kind of sad with a bad accent. And I don't get it at this point. I really don't get that these people are 30 days out from the end of this and they still think that, well, maybe we can stop it. No, you can't. It's happening. This is real. Now, can we get down to brass tacks and can we negotiate? If they're not capable of doing this, or if for lack of a better term, if the baddies win here, all this is going to do is inflame the people of the UK to understand that their government is completely and utterly dysfunctional, 1, and 2, working in somebody else's best interest, 2, and 3, needs to be completely sacked in every level. Confidence will collapse the government. And when confidence in the government collapses, confidence in the currency collapses, confidence in the debt and the this and the that, everything starts to collapse. The European Union is playing hardball, and the Remainers, and the power elite, the Davos crowd, whatever you want to say. They're playing a very dangerous game of hardball to win this battle, but lose the war. Because it's their insistence on winning every one of these battles and pushing the people down even farther and making them look and making them feel even more marginalized and even more diminutive. That they don't have a choice, that this is inevitable, and that they will take their medicine, and that's just the way it's going to be, and we're in charge. The more they do that, the more they're going to lose. The more they're setting up their own demise. I hate to, invoke Star Wars at this point, but the more you tighten your grip, Tarkin, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. This is what's happening in the EU. And Brexit is just one aspect of this. Eurosceptic parties are now polling somewhere around 220 seats out of 705 if the Brits are not part of the European parliamentary elections in May. It's not enough to stop a full-on coalition to reform the European Commission presidency, but it's a big enough block now to be taken very seriously. And it could easily surge between now and May. And if Britain is forced to stay in the EU, then that changes everything as well. Because now you're looking at another 45 or 50 seats that will mostly all be anti-EU and Eurosceptic. I can almost bet you on that one. All right, this has been the Gold Goats and Guns short news for Tuesday, February 26, 2019. If you like what you heard today, please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate it. Again, live streams at Monday nights at 8 p.m., Friday nights at 8:30. Health willing. And you can follow my work over at tomluongo.me, and you can support my work over at my Patreon page at patreon.com/goldgoatsandguns, where you can get access to either my private blog and twice weekly market reports, which tie geopolitics directly to the markets, as well as actionable information on key markets like the Dow, gold, the euro, and others, as well as bespoke research, and the Gold Goats and Guns newsletter, investment newsletter, which ties all of this up into a coherent investment thesis. You guys all have a great afternoon. We'll talk soon. Keep a stick on the ice.